at the MMA manual to find out, in statute 30A, and say, does not require the warrant to be posted or published or posted in more than one place. However, it's best not to reduce those numbers or change without advance publicity of the change. So if we're gonna be doing this and discuss it, excuse me, and have a public hearing on it, get the notices out. If we get it out soon enough, where we wanna do it, something we put in our tax bill, so that they know ahead of time.
I really need to have a public hearing.
Well, it's advisable to do so.
We can lump it in with another one.
We could put it in with something else.
Yeah, you can have your public hearing before your selectmen's meeting.
Right.
It's just to have that.
And we don't need to do 7 places.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. 7 is only because that's what we traditionally have done.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that was more in the days before electronic communication. I mean, now it's on Channel 7 and it's on our website. We didn't have a website in those days.
Channel 7 is another thing that people don't have HD.
Right.
Right,
They've
but
lost
it's on the
that, so-
website and, you know, I mean, having it at Fitzhenry's store is just ridiculous.
You don't even need to bring tax there. There's so many staples sticking out. You just walk up and stick it in.
And putting it in the high school, in a lockdown school,
That's, yeah.
probably isn't too effective.
All right, so it's time to upgrade and update our
Really,
notifications.
It's really neat. And to give you an example, the last warrant that I just posted had to have the town charter, the 3 ordinances, brownfield application, and the CDBG micro enterprise grant. I went through.
So you
Yeah.
took your 5 pounds
By
of
the time,
paper.
and Bobby can do tests, because by the time I had to have all those that's outside, they'd have to be in plastic sleeves, they was just a vote.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's a high water mark for warrant postings, right? I mean, it's a lot, and we usually don't have that many. I'm trying to get an idea if we do some sort of a display board that, yeah, how much area
You need a
we
lot of
would
room.
need to accommodate for that.
Or
All
have
right,
it
let's-
so that they can lift the pages.
Right, if it's loose, you can put them on tack so they
Then you can
go
rip it
sideways
out.
like this way, and then you can,
Yeah, I see.
You need a lot of space when you put them up individually.
Right.
and then when I do the
There you
elections.
go, we'll just run it around town.
And when we do the elections for the state and federal, I also have to have a copy of the warrant, I mean, the, ballot. There's a lot of stuff that needs to go with that.
We're gonna probably have to put a line item
Well, hopefully, we won't have to have one for us, we have our vote with you.
in. We should probably put that in, that way they know we can pay for it.
But it's something to look at, I mean, it's
Certainly
Time.
something to consider.
Right.
Right.
So the expense that I spent on the plastic sleeves, I went through 3 full packages, getting everything in plastic sleeves. And I had the stuff back to back anyway, so 2 pages in one sheet.
Can we go back and collect all those that survived?
Unfortunately, no, by the time you get all the holes in it,
Yeah,
and
they
the
don't got-
tape,
they're not
because they have to
waterproof
tape
anymore.
on the top, and tape,
Do
no.
we have a laminating machine?
That's
Yeah, but we don't-
expensive too,
that's
though.
worse than the
Yeah.
plastic sleeves.
That's very expensive. Okay.
I'd say the budget committee's given a task, fund notices, you can't take it out of general expense.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you much, Benny.
Thank you.
Fireworks issues in Lubec. I've had
We have the expert.
a couple of residents come to me with concerns about fireworks in Lubec. I had one person come in and drop off a couple of ordinances from communities that had 0 tolerance for fireworks. I don't think we have to go through that extreme. I've had some conversations with Donnie on the state statutes.
I think our biggest hurdle is people aren't educated in what the actual state law is in fireworks. Most people think that there's not regulations at times that people can discharge fireworks, places they can discharge them. So there's very specific and very strict on what can and where fireworks can be shot off. People misunderstand, think they can shoot them off all night. Well, state law says after 10 p.m. except on a few exclusions, which are on certain holidays. If we because before and after receiving, the holiday's not on a weekend, it's a later time, but after 10, people hear fireworks and they can call the sheriff's department, because it's a violation of state law. It doesn't need to be an ordinance, call the police and they'll respond to it. We go, I constantly deal with this where I work, that we have to go tell people. The biggest thing is they just don't know in the packets they usually get from the fireworks place when they purchase the fireworks, because they have to be familiar with it, they usually don't read.
And the,
People think that if, you know, if you catch somebody's property on fire with fireworks, you're still liable. It's not, just, you know, there's safety issues and you can still be held negligent. Most of the laws are very effective, but people don't know them and don't call the proper people. You know, calling the town office complaining because your neighbor's shooting fireworks off at 11 o'clock at night won't fix the problem. Calling the sheriff's department or the state police, depending on who covers us that night, will get things taken care of because it's a violation of law.
I found it interesting that you were saying that if they shoot it off and it lands on someone else's property, and there is damage, they are liable for it. So that's something to keep in mind if you live on a small lot and you're thinking of shooting off fireworks.
Most of the fireworks are illegal to really have debris that comes down because of the way they're built. They're not allowed to shoot
So
the
most of the
ball rocket.
ones that do it are illegal.
Most of the stuff that goes up, usually almost all burns up. Sometimes there are pieces, wadding that falls back.
so you mentioned that the retail point for the consumer, they give you information as to what the law is.
Every time I purchase it, you get a little summary sheet of all the state laws and safety
Good.
guidelines.
Good.
But then you have to read it as well.
Right.
You know, most people don't realize if you're under 21, you're not allowed.
Right.
Fireworks by state law.
You have to be that age to purchase them and that age to light them off.
Yes.
I explained
Can't
to a
shoot
bunch
them
of
off
kids I
somebody
saw
else's
about
property.
firecrackers.
Shoot
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, what about those firecrackers, Justin, that you see some kids in town?
Like, well, just when they go bang.
Well, the ones that are in a string that go puck, puck.
Perfectly legal.
Aren't-
Except they're violating state law because A, they're not 21.
21.
They have to be
it's
21 to
not
have
all-
those.
They also
Yeah.
need to ask permission from the landlord to discharge fireworks or be their own property. So if they're walking down the sidewalk and lighting fireworks off, the town is not giving anyone permission to light fireworks on town property. So there, whoever sees them should call the police. They can be summoned.
And firecrackers are considered
Fireworks.
under fireworks.
Yeah.
So people have a misconception that MAs and things, they have what they've been outlawed since I believe in federal statute. They're labeled that way for propaganda and better sales, but they're
That's
limited
right.
to the amount of flash powder in it by federal law.
We only wanted cherry bombs or quarter sticks.
Now you can buy the quarter stick, but
I know I'm dating myself by saying that.
it still has the same amount of powder as the small one.
That's right.
Good. Thank you, that was helpful.
Next item is a sewer abatement.
We had a customer that the reading came in from the water company, but it actually represented 3 periods, not 3 months. So I charged them for it, as if it was a 3-month reading, and then I overcharged them by $66 for the unit.
Make a motion, we sewer abatement.
Second.
All in favor of granting the abatement?
It works.
Second mistake this year.
We're almost at your limit, and we're almost over the year, so.
Yeah, there's another mistake, this isn't my name, yours.
Glad you caught me. Got someone.
It's on Hobson Street, that's not Reed.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Or 10, rather. Committee updates.
I'll start. Shellfish Committee has a meeting August 12th, 4 o'clock, here at the town office. much of what I was gonna discuss about the harbor board has been talked about with, what we talked about with Proc Marine showing up and getting the work done in such an expeditious manner, and we're all delighted about that.
Anyone else?
Last night, the Washington County Council of Governments met and John attended the meeting. They had a presentation about climate vulnerability and how it can affect Washington County. Had a speaker from Vermont speaking of hurricane and the effects and how they were able to deal with that. And they also had Tora Johnson from UMM, who does their GIS mapping, and they have had some interns this summer and continuing in the fall who are mapping coastal communities and the impacts that could happen for different storms with different tides, and they can click, choose different scenarios and then map it out. It's very interesting, very scary, to be able to really visualize mostly water, the rise of the water and what locations would be affected. And even in the maps that we saw, which were Machias and Millbridge, in the case of certain events, certain roads are going to be unpassable, which will definitely affect us. And that's without seeing the maps of Lubec. So we have the opportunity to have maps done for Lubec. They can help us look at possible erosion, flooding, infrastructure that may be affected, public health issues, our fisheries, our a lot of things. So with the board's permission, I would like to officially ask the Council of Governments that we be a community that have this assessment done for our own benefit.
Is there cost associated with it?
There's no cost.
Back when we were in the midst of our comprehensive plan,
That was mapping was talked about then. Is this the continuation of that?
There's different levels of mapping that